Hey babes, my name's Hannah.
And my name's Chasity.
Welcome back to Bookish Babes. Today we are doing our book babble on our December book club pick.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, December book club pick, Pestilence. Do you remember what the author's name is?
Laura Thalassa.
Okay.
I don't think I'll ever forget it.
Nope.
I do want to do a quick correction. Yes. Last month I did in our December reading wrap up, I read a book called The Getaway. I thought it was The Getaway. I stated that it was by just Greer Hendricks, but it turns out it is by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen, which I was completely wrong about. I don't know why. I swore to God that it was just by Greer Hendricks, but it is not. It is by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen, so I just want to make that quick correction.
Okay. Just throw that in there.
Just throw that in there.
Yeah. We're just going to do a quick synopsis of the book, and then we're going to go into more spoilery stuff. So, God, I don't even know how to describe this book.
So
Pestilence is one of the four horsemen. And basically the whole premise of him is he rides around on his horse and spreads
the plague
and kills off humanity. And then he is in, what's our main character's name?
Sarah Burns.
That's right. And she is a firefighter, and her name is Sarah Burns. As you could probably already tell how we feel about this book. He comes to her town, and she decides that she's going to be the one that kills him. As one does. Like, nobody else has ever succeeded, but I'm the one that's going to succeed. And so she hides out, tries to kill him, fails, and he decides that he is going to bring her with him now as punishment.
And it's punishment. And that is how it goes.
Yeah.
So basically, if you watch the channel, you know how our Bookish Babbles go. Going to be filled with all kinds of spoilers. It's going to just be, we turn the camera on and we roll with it. We're going to tell you all about this book, all about our thoughts. So if you have not read this book and you're interested in reading it, I would recommend turning off the camera and coming back to this at a later date. However, if you are interested in reading this book, you might not want to come back to this video, because we don't really recommend reading this book.
Yeah, I mean, like, no spoilers. This was just a terrible book. Like, it was just really bad.
So,
are we getting into the spoilery stuff now, or?
Not quite yet.
Okay.
So typically, when we pick our books for book babbles, we don't know really too much about them. At least I don't really look at reviews. Hannah reads reviews, and we kind of switch off on who picks the books for the next babble.
And this book got pretty good reviews.
It got really good reviews.
Over a 4.0 average rating, which is pretty high for Goodreads.
I had already known about it from a friend of mine for several years and had been recommended it several times. And Hannah came to me and was like, hey, like, I've heard a lot of good things about this book. And I was like, oh, I have heard about it before. Like, I've been meaning to read it for several years now. So we picked this book up and we were like, that's going to be our next book babble. So we always go into it like open-minded, let's see what it's about, and then decide to do a book babble on it. We always finish the books for the book babbles, and then we always do our open and honest opinions. So that's something to keep in mind for book babbles. This one was definitely not our deal, man.
I finished it before her, and I tried to like keep my opinions to myself to like not sway how she was thinking. But then once I realized she was not enjoying it either, I was like, okay, good, because I hated it. It's one of my least favorite books I've ever read.
It made me really mad, actually.
Yeah.
Like, I was so enraged by it.
And like, not in a way that like, because typically when an author makes me mad, I'm like, oh, that means they're probably doing something right, because but like, not like that. It pissed me off with how bad it was. And how I feel like it's a slap in the face to like literally anybody who reads it. People don't talk enough about the religious tone in the book.
That's the thing, is
I was
like,
not expecting it at all. Nobody talks about it in any reviews.
So I read the reviews afterwards, and I typically don't read the reviews because I could really care less. I read for myself and that's it. So I don't read reviews before or typically really after, except in rare circumstances. This was one of those circumstances where I was like, how did this get such high ratings? And I really wanted to know why.
Like, who is the market?
Who is the market? Because I just did not see what the the market was, what really the story was about, or what the end goal was, because getting into it, we'll discuss it, but I just did not see who the market was. And I was so shocked that like nobody, even the 1-star reviews versus the 5-star reviews, nobody spoke about the religious aspect to this book.
Yeah, so I was not expecting it, because, and here's the thing, and here's why I do read reviews, is because had I known, I wouldn't have ever picked this one up. And I kind of had to check myself, because that is an issue that I have as somebody who like isn't religious and didn't grow up religious. I don't love books that have that kind of tone. It's just not for me.
So I do want to say that like I come from a really religious background,
but I feel like it's a slap in the face to people who are religious too. It's not good for, I don't get the market. It's not really good for anybody.
But I did I know who the four horsemen of the apocalypse are. I do know what pestilence is. I had an idea of what it would be. However, I was not expecting what I was going into that way. I thought perhaps we were going into more of a dystopian type, you know, like we were going into something more like, instead of just her, we were, you know, survivors trying to, you know, run and live and more something along the lines of survival, and how we were going to maybe turn this around, or, you know, like something like that. I was not expecting that we were going to be going trashy romance with pestilence. It's a very odd thing for me.
Yeah.
Especially when we're talking about, like, they bring up God several times.
Yeah, like the whole premise is that God sent him to Earth to do what he's doing, to kill everybody.
And here's something that I really questioned. So in the beginning they talk about how, like, because it's already happened. Like, the 4 horsemen were already sent down. And supposedly 3 of them are asleep, and only Pestilence is running. And he's going around and he's spreading the plague, and he goes through the towns, and as he goes through a town, like, they all fall to the plague. That really doesn't make sense to me, because, and everyone can obviously say, like, this is fiction, she can write it however she wants, and that's fine, and, you know, based on original scriptures, which of course we don't really know if it's true or not, but, you know, based on the how I was raised in the study of the scriptures, like, obviously they're all supposed to go to, like, different quarters of the world and run at the same time. And, like, thinking in my own logical brain, like, that would make more sense, because if Pestilence succeeds in his mission, like he continues to talk about, if he spreads the plague everywhere and he kills the entire world, what the hell are the other 3 supposed to do?
That's true. That's true. I didn't even think about that. I didn't realize that was what they were meant for, is to, like, just kill everybody.
Yeah, it's the reckoning.
Yeah.
It's the end of the world. It's the apocalypse.
Yeah.
That's what they are. They're the four horsemen of the apocalypse. They're that done. We have no more chance of survival. They will end us. That's it. Which is also why I don't understand why he's able to cure, why he's able to stop it.
Yeah.
Because if he makes that kind of decision, which again, that's something else I don't believe he has the power to do. Like, if he's able to do that, I really think, like...
And he's clearly able to choose who he infects, because Sarah never gets sick.
And I don't think that's just not something that would happen.
Yeah. He doesn't get to choose to, like, spare one person who he thinks is pretty. Like, that makes no sense.
I just have such trouble believing, and I know it's all for the sake of fiction, but again, like
I read shit about dragons, okay? Not everything needs to be realistic,
for the sake of actually having the 4, like,
but it has to make sense within the story, and it doesn't even make sense within the story, is my biggest issue.
Just make it make sense.
No.
Just give me something to go off of, and this doesn't give me something to go off of.
They keep like referencing, like, angels. Did you catch that? Like, he's supposed to be like an angel.
He is.
But he's there. So God sent him to Earth to kill everybody.
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
Well, because, okay, so, and that's another thing that I wanted to touch on. So he's an angel, and he looks like a human, right? Because
but he can't die.
This is how you will understand them, because he's in another vessel, okay?
Right, like he mentions like that's not him. That's not his body. He's just in that body. If that makes sense.
Right, correct.
Yeah.
He's in a vessel type thing. Like, so you can understand
He is not a worldly being.
He's not a worldly being.
Yeah.
Which is, again, we're gonna go ahead and reference. You're gonna get tired of me. I know this. And I am not one to preach religion on anybody because I used to have a very religious background. I do not anymore. Like, I'm not a practicing Catholic anymore. But old stories say that, you know, Lucifer was an angel. He was the right-hand man of God. And one of the reasons that he was cast out and the reason that he turned against God was because humans were created and we had the things that angels did not. Angels have, you know, this is your mission, this is what you do. You don't have a choice. And humans were given free will. Mm-hmm. So I do not see the four horsemen being given these feelings when they're not humans, and it's pointed out they're not humans.
Yeah.
So why would he start to develop guilt and start caring and have these feelings that goes against the whole idea of him being who he is? Mm-hmm. So all of these things, they just don't matter. Mm-hmm. It doesn't match up. Mm-hmm. None of it makes any sense. And if he was failing, which this starts to go at the end of the book, like where she leads to. Mm-hmm. If he starts to fail at his mission, why wouldn't God just take him out or pull him back?
Right. And so this is where, it's funny because we were reading reviews and a lot of people mentioned like the great world building. There's no world building. And so like, I don't quite even understand what happened at the end. Is he now a human? Because he said he was like freed from his mission or something.
I don't know. I don't know whether he's just living amongst the humans as pretending or if he is a human now. It's not clear. I think
he mentions that he ages now.
So I wrote, so now he's just living as a human?
Yeah.
Oh, and guess what? They get married. Because that was something that...
Going along with the religious undertones, after they have sex, he says like he expects them to get married and she doesn't want to. But he's like, but I don't understand. Like, you had sex with me. Meaning, like, you had sex and now we have to get married. And then he was horrified to learn that she had sex with somebody else. But, like, they'd already had the premarital sex at that point. They had already committed the sin.
So, right, all the religious aspects of these books make absolutely no sense to me. And furthermore, getting away from that, the actual relationship, the character development makes no sense to me because
she keeps saying like he's not bad, he's not all bad.
What has he done to show you
slaughtering the entire world? Yes, he is that bad. He's done nothing but spare you. He spared nobody else.
And sparing you, he said that he was going to keep you alive to show you,
to punish you,
to make you suffer.
Yeah.
So like she had to walk behind the horse, like he dragged her behind the horse, dislocated her arms, like all of this torture was forgotten by the middle of the book.
Watch while these people died.
Yeah. Yeah. Like all these things were just forgotten by the middle of the book. There's no character development. There's no like talking, like their dialogue was ridiculous. I could not stand her. Also, the jokes that she like made in her inner monologue were so bad. Absolutely ridiculous.
Also, did you notice that some of the sentences are not full sentences?
They're not.
When we're like reading her inner monologue,
yeah,
it's like not full sentences.
Her inner monologue is the worst.
It made it hard to kind of follow along.
She made some really weird. I didn't bring my Kindle out here. Because I highlighted some parts.
I have Pestilence downloaded. I don't think I highlighted anything though.
I should go grab it. My whole thing was what caused the apocalypse. Like he kept talking about.
He never like said what they did that was so bad that they all needed to die.
What caused it? He kept continuing to say how bad humans were, but like what caused it? I would have liked to have seen like the actual like the day.
I think I took it off because I was so I definitely took it off because I was so irritated.
The day it happened, I would have liked to have seen that.
Yeah.
Like what happened when they actually came down.
Yeah.
I would have liked to know the cause because every time somebody asked him, because you know like Ruth and I can't remember, Rob, something.
The husband,
There's some cute little older couple that takes them into their home at one point, because every night they're breaking into people's houses, and literally like these people are dying.
They're like stealing from them.
And they're just stealing from them and staying at their house, and she has to like watch them die. But you know, it's okay because he's a good guy. And whatever. This book made me so sick, okay? And they're like God-fearing people. They believe in their religion. They're like, you have been given a duty, like this is your mission, you have to carry out your plan. And they're wonderful people. And they're like, how wonderful is it that we, you know, we've had a full life and we get to go together. And first of all, that's beautiful. That was probably the most beautiful part of the book, was that relationship. So fucking killed me that they died. And they were so nice to both of these shit people. So that was weird to me, because like they were asking him questions, you know, they were being nice to him and like feeding him pie and stuff, and like asking him questions about God and like all these religious aspects, and he never gives any kind of answers.
Yeah.
So throughout the entire book, we get nothing. Absolutely nothing from this man. And even
Sarah has asked, like, why are humans so irredeemable? Like, what happened?
I just want to know what the purpose of this book was. What was the fucking plot?
Purpose.
What was the end game?
No.
Why was this book written?
Yeah, like usually there's always something. There's like a broader message that we're supposed to take away from the book, right? Like there was nothing here.
Nothing except to make me mad.
Yeah. And like the love story wasn't even that good.
It was
horrible.
It was awful.
It was horrible. I didn't like either of them. Their connection made no sense to me. I didn't buy it.
I literally wrote a post-it while I was reading it and put it on my Kindle, because at one point that she was talking about after they had sex and then he wanted to marry her, and it says, why are we caring about marriage when they're faced with the fucking apocalypse?
Yeah, like he's literally he's going off to kill everybody. Why does he care about getting married?
Why do we give a shit?
And why does this girl make him believe that humans can be redeemed?
But why does it matter? There's nobody in the church to marry you.
And if you go to the church, you're gonna kill the pastor.
There's nothing going to be left. There is no world to live in after this. So how does this make any sense?
Right, so like if he succeeds with his mission and he kills everybody, what happens to them then? I don't understand.
Do you think God is going to let Sarah live?
Yeah.
Or if
this
he
version
does,
of God truly sent you to
kill everyone.
Yeah.
Or if he does, endgame, okay, if he does, where do you go?
Back up to heaven.
Where do you go after
like,
this mission?
From what little I know about religion, I don't want to make this all about religion, but like, is it like one of the biggest sins killing people? And so what, he gets to go back up to heaven after he kills all the human race?
I have no idea. I don't even know if the 4 horsemen come from heaven. I don't even know where the fucking 4 horsemen come from.
I don't understand that part of it, because like from what I know, supposedly, I have my own opinion about religion, but supposedly God is supposed to be love, right? But he's sending the 4 horsemen to Earth to kill everybody.
That's another big issue. Like, nobody really knows, right?
None of it makes any sense.
None of it makes any sense.
So if you're going to feed into the religion aspect of it, you need to feed into it. You needed to leave it out. Like, it was very like half-ass. The story didn't make sense. The characters didn't make sense. Everything about them was annoying. Everything about all the people they came into contact with, even the older couple, they irritated the shit out of me. Why are you treating this man so well? Because even if you're ready to die, you have to realize that he killed, like at this point, most of the planet. Like there are entire cities wiped out. They are in Canada at this point. Or no, they were in Canada, and now they're in the US.
Yeah, they were in Seattle at that point.
He has at this point gone through all of Canada. He has killed an entire country.
And then apparently at the end we find out that he can stretch his reach. So this entire time he's only been doing like towns at a time, when he could have just apparently wiped out like half of the Earth. But
instead he's been going like slowly to each of these towns so that people know that he's coming for them.
I was really dragging my feet on this one because it was
I know. But I was like, if I finished it, you have to finish it. We have to suffer together.
Like, I just don't understand. Like, was it for the shock factor? Like, to
but
say
it
that
wasn't
you did
even
it?
like the story wasn't even that good. It wasn't even that shocking. It was just made no sense. None of it made any sense.
It was so heavy on the romance, and the romance fell flat. The characters sucked. Like, I didn't.
And their connection didn't even make any sense.
No. Oh, and the other thing that really pissed me off, and again, I'm sorry to make so much of this about religious, but like.
But the book is a religious book.
Is religious, so I really just want you guys to know that, because like, there's so much of it that's religious, and you should know that going into it. Like, there was no avoiding it, and I guess that's probably why it was so fucking triggering for me, because, so he can't die, and so many people in these different towns that they're riding into are trying to kill him. So they ride through the different towns, and several times people try to kill him because, you know, apparently news doesn't reach. I mean, a lot of the places supposedly don't have electricity, so they're not watching the news or whatever, so they don't know that he can't be killed. So several times it doesn't work. It's never gonna work. But apparently they get to this last town in Seattle, and according to Sarah, they are different. They know he doesn't die because they shoot him, and they also shoot her, by the way, and they tie him up to the rope with a rope to a post, and then they crucify him to it,
like Jesus.
That was just like, I'm sorry, what? Like,
which is why, like, I feel like it's a slap in the face to people who even are religious, because it's like, none of that makes sense.
None of it makes sense, yeah. and it wasn't necessary. You could have done 100 other things that was not necessary, especially because in the next scene, there's no explanation. He got out of it. Like, he's helping her. Like, she goes unconscious. You know, like, there was no explanation for that scene whatsoever. These people are gone. It was unnecessary. It definitely was a slap in the face. Like, I was pissed. I was so pissed off. Like, I literally, at that point, I had thrown my Kindle across the room and stalked out of my room. And really, I would not have finished this book at several different times. That was definitely one of them.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't have finished it if we hadn't picked it for a book club read.
So, I did go back because some of her inner monologue was just absolutely ridiculous, and I highlighted a few parts. The one that I wanted to point out to you, which was just disgusting and made me want to throw up, is the first time that they have sex. I believe this is the first time they have sex. She says in her inner monologue, he's looking at my breasts like he's a 13-year-old discovering his father's skin mags for the first time. Who the fuck writes that?
I don't know. And it was just so yucky. That felt a little bit like pedophilia to me, you know what I mean?
Yes, and
it's just like a gross thing to
like,
say.
And that's what a lot of her inner monologue is, and I just did not like her as a character.
No.
Also, maybe I'm thinking too far into this, but her name really bothered me.
The fact that she is a firefighter and her name is Sarah Burns.
I can't.
So bothersome.
So bothersome. Towards the end, when she is just suddenly so upset that he has killed so many people, which I don't know.
Like he's been doing the entire time.
What she suddenly woke up to suddenly. Which it made no sense, her reaction suddenly. This came out of nowhere.
I know.
Nothing changed.
No.
He literally was the same day to day, and he says, I am the first horseman, the one who was tasked with toppling your old way of living. You and your foolish brethren believed you could outpace God. You built and innovated, and in your quest you robbed the earth of its purity and forgot that you all had another master. You had all turned your backs on God. Yes, even you, dear Sarah, and I am here to make you remember. You all had another master.
I forgot you had another master.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
So first of all, that doesn't sound very...
Doesn't sound very Christian to me.
It doesn't. It's very... Like, for this book to have been what it was trying to be, which first of all, I don't think this book should have been anything, but for this book to have been what it was trying to be, it needed to either be fully committed or like stayed away from the religious aspect at all.
Yeah, like kind of what I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
Like either like feed into it or don't.
Yeah, exactly. And it just wasn't.
Yeah.
Like
So like I once again just don't get the market for this.
I don't.
Because I feel like this is like a slap in the face to people who are truly Christians, and it's weird to people who aren't, because I wasn't even, you know, it's different. Like she was raised religious and now is no longer. Like I have never been involved in religion, and so I don't like, with the exception of like a few times that I've gone to church as a child, but like for the most part, like I didn't know the story before I started reading it. I didn't know that the Four Horsemen were rooted in religion. I had no idea that story was rooted in religion. But it doesn't market anything like that. So I just think it could be upsetting to a lot of people. And I don't think that authors are necessarily always responsible for other people's triggers. Like I don't think that, you know, you're allowed to like be pissed off by something but still see the merit in it for other people. But I don't get who the audience was for this.
Right. And I'm not saying like if people enjoyed it, like they're terrible. But I just don't see it.
Like
this one I just
quite
don't
literally
get.
Like his whole purpose was to kill all of humanity, and you think that he deserves like a romance story? Absolutely not.
Yeah,
I love a morally gray character, but this was not a morally gray
at all. This was like black and white, and I just that was the whole thing. Like I literally saw this story going differently. I literally thought we were gonna have like,
because there's no growth, there's no arc. Like he doesn't end with him saying like what I did was wrong. Not that would like excuse it, but like nothing. They just like gloss over it, and they get to live happily ever after.
Yeah, and afterwards, like
there's no change. Nothing.
No, afterwards he's living amongst the humans, which we don't know. We don't know whether or not. We don't know how he served his mission, because people are back. Like the plague stopped. People are back, and we don't know how he served his mission, but he says he served his mission, which doesn't make any lick of sense to me, okay? Because you didn't, and I don't get that.
And at the very end, like his brothers wake up.
So yeah, at the end, oh, and they're married. Okay,
yeah, his brothers wake up. So like this isn't even done. Like humanity still needs to die. Apparently, he's just not going to be the one to do it anymore.
And then there's an epilogue and says, year 10. Oh, he can't stop his brothers, and war is coming. And I remember vividly it says, pray for the world, Sarah, because war is coming. And his brother is War. And I bet you, because there's a series, so it's War, Famine, and Death. And each one gets his own book, and I bet you each fucking one of them falls for a human woman.
Little human that suddenly makes them believe that humanity needs to be restored.
And that, my friends, is just some bullshit. Yeah. I cannot get behind that. Cannot get behind that. And what makes me even more angry is because I did go and look at the synopsis for War, and it immediately started with when Jerusalem fell, and I was like, out.
It's such a slap in the face to anybody who reads it, I feel like. Because I have read a few books in the past that I have like adamantly hated. One of them being, I hate to keep bringing this up, but one of them being Haunting Adeline. Even then, I get how some people might enjoy that book. Dark romance is probably just not for me. I get how some people might enjoy, I get how some people might enjoy that book. I don't understand how people enjoy this book.
And like, I hate to be like, we like to talk about books that we like. I hate to be the one who's like, this book I waste my time not on enjoy.
Every time I go into it, like I really go into it with good intentions, and I go into it like hoping and feeling like it's going to be something that I'll like. Otherwise I just wouldn't pick it up. Like there's a reason why I didn't pick up ACOTAR for years, is because I didn't think I was going to like it. So why am I going to waste my time on it? Right. And I will say that like as I've gotten older, I've gotten a little bit more adventurous, and I do try tropes and things that like I typically think that I'd like, but it's always like in a package that I feel like I could digest it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but at the same time, I am at this point where I also feel like I'm, reading different things, and I always want to try to read something new, and you know, we have the right to have our feelings and our opinions about it. And I also think it's very important, especially on this channel, to be able to express that and have that in a safe, comfortable environment. And, you know, if other people have varying opinions, I am always willing to discuss them down in the comments.
A line that I feel like it's not okay for, like, I feel like authors have to be held responsible in a certain way. When, I feel the same way about Haunting Adeline. Like, I don't think that should have been published. I think that's dangerous to have been published. I feel like Pestilence is dangerous to have been published, but for a different reason. Not because I think it gives people, like, a bad idea of what a relationship to look like, but because I think that it is really rude to use religious stories like that. I would be upset if they did that to any religion, like used a religious story and like made a shitty romance book about it. That's not okay to me. It's not. Religion is very sacred to people.
It is.
And that should have never been used like that. And I can say that as a non-religious person. Like, I would never ever do that.
Yeah. It was not okay.
It's something that really shouldn't have been published.
No.
And so, like, I try to, like, objectively dislike things if I do dislike them, and say, like, this wasn't for me, but this is for other people. But, like, I just don't. I don't know.
I just feel like
I don't want to shit on people who liked it, but I really just, I feel like this wasn't an okay book.
I just feel like we're constantly pushing the limits to push the limits for no reward.
There was nothing. There was no purpose.
There was no purpose to this book whatsoever. This one really left me like.
Because it's not even a toxic romance. You know what I mean? Like, people can publish a book that's in, you know, they're not necessarily even saying that this is how romance should be. Like, I think a toxic romance can be okay if that's what you enjoy. But this was like I said, they're using a religious story in a shitty romance book, and that's not okay.
Yeah.
It's very much not chill.
I can't even imagine what the other three are like, but I certainly won't find out.
Right.
Because
the whole reason we had read this book is because she really wanted to get to, what is it, death?
Death.
Because
the guy had so wings. Pretty. Cover's so pretty. I mean, I like all the covers, but Death was so pretty.
Yeah, and it's tragic. We'll never get there.
We'll never get there.
This was just very much not good.
One and just read Death and given a bad review on that one. Because I'm sure it's not right. I'm sure I would have had great feelings about that. Although he did make an appearance.
Who did?
Death.
Did he?
Thanatos or whatever. He did. He made an appearance with Sarah.
I don't remember.
Towards the end when she was in the hospital. She died.
I remember now.
She died and he brought her and he said,
That's right. Yeah. And he's like, well, my brother, yeah.
So whatever.
My curiosity was filled. This book out.
My curiosity was filled. He was kind of a dick anyways, so whatever. I don't care enough.
It's funny because this book made me, remember when I finished Haunting Adeline, I was like, fuck this book, fuck this author, fuck people who like this book. Like, I was like really angry about it. This made me, I don't want to say appreciate Haunting Adeline, but it made me feel, it softened my feelings a little bit towards it.
You
because
were like,
fuck this book. This is a book that shouldn't exist. Haunting Adeline, whatever. I have my own opinions about it. I still don't think it's great, and I still don't think people should read it, but that's whatever. Like, but this book needs to be like taken out of print.
Okay. So that was our thoughts.
It was certainly a video we filmed.
It was a lot to take in. But comment down below. Let us know what you think. Hit that like button and subscribe. And tap that notification bell so you know when we post next. See you later.